Hey y'all, this is Marla K. Hope everybody is doing well. Um, got a story that I want to share with you from ProPublica. Came out 2 hours ago. Today is February the 8th, 2024. And it says the Department of Education told employees to end support for transgender students. And this is an ongoing battle um, with this administration. They are going through and trying to scrap any of the DEI components. A lot of different things are going on, and we need to pay attention to it because some of these programs that are in place are supporting a lot of our children. They're in our public schools, are in our colleges and universities, they are in nonprofit organizations in communities, and while those programs may not specifically be for black students may benefit from those programs because they have a certain percentage of programming that have to go to certain segments of the population. So it doesn't really matter. You could just say, oh well, it's for mental health services. My kid doesn't receive mental health services, but it may be tied to something else, or services for homeless students. My child isn't homeless, but some black kid may be homeless and need those services, and those services are going to be removed from the schools, and they have been in place for a very long time. So this story is important because it's going to change the landscape of public education. All right, so the U.S. Department of Education told employees late Friday that it will end all programs, contracts, and policies that fail to affirm the reality of biological sex, carrying out President Donald Trump's vow to restrict transgender rights. The broad language in the email did not specify which programs or policies would be impacted or how many schools or students might be affected. But the order appears designed to target programs that in recent years supported transgender students, school-based mental health services, and support for homeless students, for example. Um, so it's just going to be very interesting to see what happens. Again, I told y'all I do work for a lot of these different federal agencies in reviewing proposals and programs for different programs, and there has been an acceleration of uh, programs that serve um, the transmission, our alphabet community, and a lot of mental health services, school-based mental health services, especially for upper middle class students. Um, and I just have my own stories of, you could just kind of see over the last 7, 8 years how, kids were coming home with all these new terms for what's wrong with them and how stuff was just being pushed on them. And you like, what the hell is going on in school? Where all this stuff coming from? Poor people don't have access to this stuff that, we would never know this stuff, but there's just a whole lot of stuff going on in these schools, and it's just a lot of stuff going on. I could say more. I'm just not. Let me just get back to it. So it says these corrective measures will include thorough review and subsequent termination of departmental programs, contracts, policies, outward-facing media, regulations, and internal practices, according to the email list sent to department employees and obtained by ProPublica. A spokesperson for the Department of Education did not immediately respond to requests for a comment. This email, which was unsigned and sent from the ED internal communications, also takes aim at employee programs at the Education Department. Employees across the federal government already have been instructed to remove preferred pronouns from their email signatures. Employee resource groups that promote gender ideology and do not affirm the reality of biological sex cannot meet on government property or take place during official work hours, the email said. It's not clear what resource groups the email is referencing or whether they exist. The Trump administration has curbed transgender rights in other federal agencies. It has barred transgender people from serving in the military, reinstating a policy from Trump's first term, and in federal prison, it has tried to remove transgender women to male facilities, an effort a judge has blocked. The sweeping directive outlined in Friday's Education Department email follows two recent executive orders targeting gender ideology. The first, defending women from gender ideology extremism and restoring biological truth to the federal government, ordered federal agencies to scrub references to transgender people from documents, rules, and policies. The department appears to have complied with the order by, for example, removing resources like tips for schools on how to support homeless LGBTQ plus youth. Another executive order issued this week, keeping men out of women's sports, barred transgender athletes from participating in women's sports at school. The Education Department on Thursday announced investigations into two universities and an athletic association related to transgender athletes and institutions' alleged violations of Title something of federal law that is part of the Civil Rights Act and prohibits sex-based discrimination in education. The same day, the NCAA reacted by barring athletes who were identified as male at birth from playing women's sports. The email sent to employees Friday afternoons stated, quote, the deliberate subjugation of women and girls by means of gender ideology, whether in intimate spaces, weaponized language, or American classrooms, negated the civil rights of biological females and fostered distrust of our federal institutions, end quote. Linda McMahon, Trump's nominee for Secretary of Education, is still awaiting confirmation. She is co-founder with her husband of the World Wrestling Entertainment and chair of the America First Policy Institute, a nonprofit that has campaigned against transgender rights in schools. So I read all this to say, y'all really should be trying to get your kids out of these schools, number one, because they just letting anybody have a job. Number two, uh, there really is a problem with public education. It is nothing but a glorified babysitter now. It's not even teaching your kids to be ready for the workforce. It is teaching your kids to be dumb, question their sexual identity, and have mental health issues. It's an incubator for dysfunctional people now. And unless you go to an elite school or you have like parents that rally together around the kids in a community that are working towards something, it's very difficult to raise kids now and have them go to public schools. These kids crazy. And the stuff that these teachers are promoting, because the teachers are wackadoos and they got their own ideologies and are weirdos and feminists and all kinds of stuff. It's just not a good place for our kids to be. So the culture is different. The culture in schools are different. People don't have the same culture. You used to have a whole entire community that believed the same thing. You had a village. You don't have that anymore. Uh, and then the government has changed so much. It's very hard to trust what anybody is doing. So what we must do is just get our lives together and understand that we're going to have to get back to rearing our own kids, educating our own kids, and getting back to the basics because, we're learning that a lot of this stuff that was pushed on us was a part of this new global order to destabilize uh, family culture and make our society just unrecognizable. And for the most part, it's successful. But now this reverting back to Christian values is taking us back to white supremacy and Roman Empire, because Babylon, Mystery Babylon, can't stand. We can't go on as things have been. So I don't know what is going to happen. I don't know what the plans are. All I can tell you is that, this is going on today. And next week, something else could happen. But what I will tell you is you should be watching Congress to see what bills have been passing um, on Friday and Saturday, because that's usually when the okie dokes be happening. And, while I think these stories are noteworthy, I think it's too late for Babylon. I can't say, if this country turns from its ways and repent, the Most High could withhold judgment and we could get to live another couple of years or another couple of days. But I don't know. I'm just praying. What I am grateful for is that, it appears that it just appears. Not saying it's so, but it appears that the country is seeing or understanding, or at least attempting to move the hands of time back to a different time. And, I don't know, like I said, if this is part of the chaos. It sure feels like it. But we must keep watch, be vigilant, and because this involves our children, whether you have children, grandchildren, great grandchildren, nieces, nephews, whatever, it's a huge deal because a lot of money goes to and through the Department of Education to educate the future workforce, and that has not really been happening. So pay attention to what's going on with the Department of Education, just like you should pay attention to everything else that's going on in the world. We are living in some crazy times and a lot of stuff is happening, but don't get too bogged down with this type of stuff, because there's a lot of stuff Trump can and can't do. Like, he can do all the things that they talked about in this article, but he can't completely get rid of the Department of Education. I don't think he's going to be able to, but it's going to change. So just be prepared for changes. If you got some of these kids that are benefiting from a lot of these programs that are DEI, the alphabet, transgender stuff, that stuff is going away. And, it's nothing that you can really do about it. So just be prepared. That's all I can say. Um, it's a new day in the neighborhood. All right, y'all. This is Marla K. Love y'all, and I'm out.